let's talk about editing. So,
Fun.
yeah, because editing is it's a necessary thing. Sometimes you got to change stuff, or you find it's it's not right, or you get more information, or you create new information from it. So anyway, editing feature data. So I've always been curious where this image came from that we've been using forever. But anyway, it just looks like an interesting building.
It
Okay,
does.
so these are the things that we're going to do. So, we have points and lines, and those lines can have what's, you probably don't know this, or you may not know, vertices or a vertex. Um, and that is how you add changes as you go around a shape. So if a line has jogs in it or a any sort of a polygon.
Or you need a corner. Yep.
And so, like in this case, they're doing a street. And so you can see each vertex is an intersection.
Yep.
And heck, I think that speaks for itself.
I know, right? It seems so basic, but yeah,
It's a thing.
that's what a polygon is.
So, how do we edit these things?
So in the catalog pane, you can pick where you want to put your new feature and right click and say you want a new feature class. And then in Pro, you don't even have to start editing. You can just jump right in and edit your features. But you have to make sure at the end you save your edits and it'll prompt you if you try to close the project. Say, do you
That
want
is
to
a
save your edit?
wonderful thing. I know many times I've been working on something and get somewhere else in the project and then realize I never saved the edits. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, dude. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of tools that come in with editing and just a few of these things. So you can, like, let's say you're dealing with parcels where you have a specific direction and length, um, and you can actually put in that information rather than try to draw it. You can create curves. This is a big thing when they came up with true curves a while back, because it was like just made up of a whole bunch of little pieces, which we'll show you an example of that. Um, Parallel lines is great because, like, let's say you have the front and back of a parcel or both sides of a street, and you can attach them to other layers. So let's say here's one that I did. So I had parcels for an area and I needed to make the streets out of it. And in this case, it was just the public right of way, which is everything that's not part of a private parcel. So I just snapped to those existing parcel lines. And then if I turn the parcels off, you can see the street right of way perfectly.
Yeah, snapping is super powerful. You got to watch as you're going, and it'll tell you what you're snapping to. So that's really helpful as well. And if it turns out you don't want snapping for a certain reason, you can always turn it off.
Yeah, I really like that it tells you which layer it is. So like if you
Yeah.
had things close together, like let's say you had sidewalk and parcels and roadway and whatever else. Anyway, but some of those might be really close together and it could be tough to make sure you're snapping to the one you want.
Yeah.
It's so smart.
Yep.
Yeah, so this shows an example. This is a very simple one where you're snapping to states because those are really big and you're unlikely to snap to the wrong state, but still, it's a pretty cool thing.
Mhm.
And I remember a lot of that where we were trying to create stuff and we didn't have the same snapping feature. We have had snapping for a long time, but where it wasn't so easy to use, and you could sit there and just obsess over getting a spot right.
Yep. And zoom in really, really close.
Yeah, and then at that point you lose the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Then there's the trace tool. This is another really cool one. How long has this been around? Do you know?
It's been around for a long, long time. I really love it because when I do a new parcel layer, there's no parcel for our pier, but in Manhattan Beach, but they always want to see the pier. So I just trace to make a new feature and I trace around, and the whole end of the pier is a big bulb with a lot of vertices. So I can just trace it and get a new one like that. It's really cool.
If I had a peer, I'd love to show it to you. Yeah, so this is you can see obvious what it is. It's just smoothing it out. Um, and I think they're actually being too kind with the first one because we've seen a lot more jagged things like that.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
does,
and the one on the left isn't actually that bad, but
yeah. And the problem is if you don't have if you don't smooth it out, a lot of times people will dismiss your work because they say, "Oh, well, that's not accurate. Look how jaggedy this is," and they're not recognizing that it could be pretty accurate and accurate enough for what you're doing, but it may distract.
yeah.
So anyway, doing something like this is just a nice way to clean it up and it makes it look more authoritative, less computery. So here we can split a polygon. So you have, in this case, this looks like parcels. You have two parcels, you're going to split them.
Yeah, this one's really helpful.
Oh, this I've done more. So rotating a polygon, moving it. So like what I've done is where, here's my cheapo cheat way, where I'm doing a bunch of them that are similar, like for a layout for an event or something like that. So I'll make that shape once and have it just the way I want it. And then I'll just copy it and move it around all over the place and turn it as needed to make it fit.
Yeah.
High tech. It looks
Saves
good.
time though. It's really helpful.
Yeah. So this is a really fun thing. So um, you may wonder where these things come from sometime. Like if you look in some communities that have building footprint data that's available online. And so you can just trace off a building. And there are more and more AI tools that can do a lot of this work. The
Yeah.
messier it gets, the harder that it gets. So like I saw this used for a parking lot where they wanted to draw out from an aerial photo, they wanted to draw all the parking spaces. So that worked well. And then they showed using it, trying to use it for a forestry application where it was counting things and it was just mush. So, but still,
Yeah. It depends on how developed the model is for sure.
yeah,
But this creating features from a base map can be done for point features, for line features, all kinds of stuff. So I know like fire hydrants, I've done creating them from the aerial imagery.
but right here, you can see there's a, a telephone pole. And so you could, assuming that it's not absolutely straight up and down uh, sunshine on the equinox, right? You're always going to have some shadow there. So those are pretty easy to pick out. There's a lot of infrastructure you can pick out from aerial photos, and
Yeah. Uh,
there's undo.
Part of the one of the best things about creating stuff is having an out if you create something on accident or um, do something wrong. Undo button will save you every time.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've like, especially if you're doing a bunch of data creation or something, there's going to be some, like, oops, that went the wrong way, or ooh, I thought I was on that vertex and I was on that vertex. So I made a huge hole in my polygon. Um, so yeah, this is great. And it does multiple levels. So you can undo, 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 like go
Mhm.
back a few steps and then redo, redo, redo. So to come back to it, really. it will save you a lot of trouble. So that's it.
All
Now
right.
we know how to edit like the big boys, and we can do all kinds of really neato stuff.
So
So
have fun.
yeah, that's about right. Have fun.